Hello guys, and let's continue reading. If a particular name appeared on $6,000, that person would instantly be exiled. If no one received 6,000 votes, the person with the most ostraga recording his name would suffer the 10-year ostracism. This ritual expulsion became a kind of festival. What a joy to be able to banish those irritating, anxiety-inducing individuals who wanted to rise above the group they should have served. In 1490 BC, Aristides, one of the greatest generals of Athenian history, helped defeat the Persians at the Battle of Marathon. Meanwhile, off the battlefield, his fairness as a judge has earned him the nickname the Just. But as the years went by, the Athenians came to dislike him. He made such a show of his righteousness, and this, they believe, disguised his feelings of superiority and scorn for the common folk. His omnipresence in Athenian politics became obnoxious. The citizens grew tired of hearing him called the Just. They feared that this was just the type of man, judgmental, haughty, who would eventually stir up fierce divisions among them. In 482 BC, despite Aristides' invaluable expertise in the continuing war with the Persians, they collected the ostraga and had him banished. After Aristides' ostracism, the great general Themistocles emerged as the city's premier leader, but his many honor and victories went to his head, and he too became arrogant and overhearing, constantly reminding the Athenians of his triumph in battle, the temples he had built, the dangers he had fended off. He seemed to be saying that without him, the city would come to ruin, and so in 472 BC, Themistocles' name was filled with on the ostraga, and the city was rid of his poisonous presence. The greatest political figure in 5th century Athens was undoubtedly Pericles. Although several times threatened with ostracism, he avoided the fate by maintaining close ties with the people. Perhaps he had learned a lesson as a child from his favorite tutor, the incomparable Damon, who excelled above all others Athenians in his intelligence, his musical skills, and his rhetorical abilities. It was Damon who had trained Pericles in the arts of ruling, but he too suffered ostracism for his superior airs, and his insulting manner towards the commoners stirred up too much resentment. Toward the end of the century, there lived a man named Hyperbolus. Most writers of the time describe him as the city's most worthless citizen. He did not care what anyone thought of him, and slandered whomever he disliked. He amused some, but irritated many more. In 417 BC, Hyperbolus saw an opportunity to stir up anger against the two leading politicians of the time, Alcibiades and Nicaeus. He hoped that one of the two would be ostracized and that he would rise in that man's place. His campaign seemed likely to succeed. The Athenians disliked Alcibiades' flamboyant and carefree lifestyle and were wary of Nicaeus' wealth and aloofness. They seemed certain to ostracize one or the other, but Alcibiades and Nicaeus, although they were otherwise enemies, pooled their resources and managed to run the ostracism on Hyperbolus instead. His obnoxious, they argued, could only be terminated by banishment. Earlier sufferers of ostracism had been formidable, powerful men. Hyperbolus, however, was a low buffoon, and with his banishment, the Athenians felt that ostracism had been degraded, and so they ended the practice that for nearly 100 years had been one of the keys to keeping the peace within Athens. Interpretation. The ancient Athenians had social instinct unknown today. The passage of centuries has blunted them. Citizens in the true sense of the word, the Athenians sensed the dangers posed by asocial behavior, and so how such behavior often disguises itself in other forms. The holier-than-thou attitude that silently seeks to impose its standards on others, overweening ambition at the expense of the common good, the flaunting of superiority, quiet scheming, terminal obnoxiousness. Some of these behaviors would eat away at the city's cohesion by creating factions and sowing dissensions. Others would ruin the democratic spirit by making the common citizens feel inferior and envious. The Athenians did not try to re-educate people who acted in these ways, or to observe them somehow into the group, or to impose a violent punishment that would only create other problems. The solution was quick and effective: get rid of them. Within any group, trouble can most often be traced to a single source: the unhappy, chronically dissatisfied one who will always stir up dissension and infect the group with his or her ill is. Before you know what hits you, the dissatisfaction spreads. Act before it becomes impossible to disentangle. one strand of misery from another, or to see how the whole thing started, first recognize troublemakers by their overbearing presence or by their complaining nature. Once you spot them, do not try to reform them or appease them. That will only make things worse. Do not attack them, whether directly or indirectly, for they are poisonous in nature and will work underground to destroy you. Do as Athenians did. Banish them before it's too late. Separate them from the group before they become the eye of a whirlpool. Do not give them time to store up anxieties and sow discontent. Do not give them room to move. Let one person suffer so that the rest can live in peace. When the tree falls, the monkeys scatter. Chinese saying. When the tree falls, the monkeys scatter. Okay, that's it, guys. Bye.